Picture this. You're standing outside a facility.
Right, like a big distribution center.
Exactly. A massive facility somewhere here in South Africa. And you're watching this huge delivery truck pull out of the gates. It's, rumbling down the road, heading off to its destination.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at that truck, what do you actually see?
That's the real question, isn't it?
Right. I mean, do you just see a vehicle in motion, like completing a delivery? Or do you see the actual lifeblood of your company's cash flow driving away?
Well, it really comes down to where you're sitting in the organization, honestly.
How do you mean?
I mean, for the person holding the clipboard on the loading dock, that truck is just a box on wheels. It's checking off a daily operational task, and that's it.
But today, we're completely tearing that perspective down.
Yeah, we really are.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking at a foundational piece of analysis by Greystride. And it focuses specifically on the South African logistics and transport environment.
This is a fascinating read.
It really is. The mission here is to totally reframe how businesses operating in this space think about their supply chains.
Because we're transitioning away from viewing transport as just this daily, tedious checklist.
Exactly. We want to expose it for what it actually is, which is a highly strategic commercial engine.
Yeah, the source material lays out this really compelling argument. It basically says that the traditional hyper-operational view of logistics isn't just outdated.
Right.
It's actively throttling a company's commercial potential.
So whether you're leading a logistics firm or maybe managing a massive warehouse in South Africa, or even if you're just an executive trying to, protect your margins in a volatile market.
Which everyone is right now.
Exactly. This deep dive is designed to change how you view the very mechanics of your delivery network. So let's start with what the Greystride piece calls the operational trap.
The operational trap. I love that term.
It's so descriptive. Okay, let's unpack this. The argument is that most businesses view transport purely as a physical activity.
Right. Yeah, just stuff moving from point A to point B.
Trucks arrive, trucks leave, freight moves. And the internal conversations get totally bogged down in just the nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
Cost, administration, vehicle rates, schedules.
Yeah, and if the pallet gets to the destination, everyone just assumes the job is done.
Right, which artificially limits the value of the entire department. It's like, let me try an analogy here. It's like looking at a car and only caring about how much fuel it consumes.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right, you're completely ignoring whether the car is actually driving you to the right destination. You're just staring at the fuel gauge.
Exactly. You end up with a business treating a function that actually sits at the intersection of, every single commercial activity as if it were a totally isolated silo.
But wait, let me push back a little on this. Because if I'm a CFO, right, or a financial director in a mid-sized South African manufacturing firm.
Okay, put on your CFO hat.
I want my logistics team obsessing over fuel costs and route rates. I mean, diesel prices are crazy volatile.
They absolutely are.
And margins are incredibly thin. So those operational things, those rates and schedules, they do matter, right?
Mm-hmm.
If my team stops sweating the operational pennies, won't my margins just, collapse overnight?
Well, nobody is suggesting that a business should ignore operational costs. That's not the point Greystride is making.
Okay, so what is the point, then?
The danger isn't in managing the spreadsheet. The danger is that the conversation ends at the spreadsheet.
Oh, it stops there.
Right. Think about it like the operating system of a computer.
Okay.
You can have incredible hardware, right? It's state-of-the-art warehouses, top-tier products, an aggressive sales team.
Because of the business?
Exactly. But if the logistics operating system that's routing all the physical goods is viewed only through this lens of cost cutting,
What happens?
the whole machine starts to crash when you put it under pressure.
Yeah.
When you isolate transport to just, moving things cheaply, you strip away its ability to create broader value.
I see. So the trap is isolation. It's treating the transport division like they are playing an entirely different game from the rest of the company.
What's fascinating here is that the physical movement of goods is simply the most visible symptom of a massive interconnected system.
Right. The truck, just what we can see.
Exactly. If your only metric for success is whether you secured a cheap rate on a specific route, you are completely blind to the bigger picture.
Which is what?
How that route's reliability is impacting your actual ability to survive and compete in the market.
Here's where it gets really interesting, I think.
Yeah.
Because if that isolation is the core problem, what happens mechanically when that isolated system fails?
Oh, it gets messy fast.
Because the Greystride article outlines this massive invisible domino effect. It basically argues that a failure in transport never stays in transport.
Never.
It ripples into customer service, inventory levels, supplier relationships. I mean, it's like a traffic jam that backs up all the way into the CEO's office.
And right into the company's bank account.
Let's walk through that. Let's look at the mechanics of a late delivery to really understand that ripple effect.
Okay, let's do it. So in the operational trap, a late truck is just a missed ETA.
The transport manager yells at the carrier on the phone.
Yeah, maybe demands a discount and then just considers the issue handled.
Checkbox ticked. Problem solved.
But outside that silo, a cascade of failures has just been triggered.
Walk me through the cascade. First domino falls.
First domino. Let's say inbound raw materials are late.
Okay, so the factory's waiting.
All right, so the production line has to halt. Or they have to switch over to something else, which incurs massive downtime costs.
Okay, that's bad. What if it's outbound?
If outbound finished goods are sitting on the dock waiting for a truck that hasn't showed up, the warehouse becomes congested.
Because the new stuff coming off the line has nowhere to go.
Exactly. You literally run out of floor space.
Okay, that makes total sense physically. But earlier in the intro, I mentioned working capital. How does a delayed truck actually drain the company's bank account?
It happens through the invoicing cycle.
Oh, okay.
If your finished goods are trapped on a concrete floor because the transport network failed, you cannot invoice your customer.
Because they haven't received it yet.
Right. But here's the critical part, and this is where businesses bleed cash. You have already paid for the raw materials inside those goods.
Oh, wow.
You've already paid the labor to manufacture them. You've paid the electricity to keep the warehouse lights on.
So all that capital is just sitting there.
It is locked inside a pallet that isn't moving. And while that money sits trapped, your own supplier's payment terms are ticking closer.
That's terrifying. But let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Go for it.
Do businesses really fail to connect the dots here? Like, is it really that common for a South African business to look at tied-up working capital and not realize a late truck is to blame?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, in the South African context, they actually miss it all the time.
Wait, really? Why?
Because management teams are constantly fighting macro-level fires.
Well,
think about it. You've got infrastructure bottlenecks at the ports, power grid volatility, fluctuating exchange rates hitting fuel prices.
It's just crisis after crisis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they are dealing with the immediate symptom, which is a tightening cash position. So what does the CFO do?
They probably scramble for cash. Dip into a credit line.
Yes, they might dip into a revolving credit facility to bridge the gap, which incurs interest, by the way.
Right.
They spend hours in boardroom meetings trying to resolve a working capital squeeze. But at its root, it was caused by a poorly designed transport network failing to execute.
So they're literally paying interest on a loan to cover the cost of a late truck they didn't even know was late.
That's exactly it. And that is just the internal cost.
There's more.
Oh yeah, the external cost is even more severe when you look at the customer side. We aren't just talking about a customer being annoyed that their delivery is late.
Right, it's not like getting a late pizza.
No, if you are delivering into major South African retail networks, a late delivery doesn't just result in a grumpy phone call, it triggers strict SLA penalties.
Service level agreements.
Right. It results in immediate financial chargebacks. And if you do it often enough, the retailer will permanently downgrade your vendor status.
Or just delist your product entirely.
Exactly. That transport failure just actively destroyed your market share.
Wow. Okay, so what does this all mean? If the stakes are really that high, how do top-performing companies actually avoid this?
Well, they realize the operational trap is a disaster.
Right. So if a company wants to make this shift tomorrow, what do the new boardroom conversations actually sound like?
It starts by fundamentally changing the questions they ask about their supply chain.
Like, what questions should they be asking instead of just, did the freight get there cheaply?
Instead of looking backward at last month's freight spend, they start interrogating the transport model's forward-looking capabilities. The Greystride piece highlights 4 critical questions.
Okay, let's break those down one by one, because I feel like this is where the rubber meets the road.
Absolutely.
The first question they suggest asking is, can the transport model support growth?
Right. So imagine a commercial enterprise plans to double its sales volume over the next 18 months.
That's a huge jump.
It is, and the immediate question in the boardroom is usually about production capacity or marketing spend, right?
Like, can we make enough product and can we sell it?
Exactly. Very rarely do they ask if the physical network design can actually handle that scale. If you are currently pushing, say, 100 pallets a day, using a handful of local brokers managed on a spreadsheet.
Which a lot of people do.
They do. But what happens when that suddenly jumps to 1,000 pallets a day?
The spreadsheet completely breaks.
It breaks.
The manual phone calls take way too long. People start dropping the ball.
Exactly. But it's more than just people dropping the ball. The underlying structure collapses. If you launch a massive, highly successful commercial campaign, but your delivery network caps out and fails to deliver the goods, you haven't bought market share.
What have you bought?
You've just paid a premium to create a massive list of furious customers.
Oh, man, yeah.
Customers who will immediately turn to your competitors. A strategic transport function is designed with scalability built into the network architecture from day one.
That makes total sense. Let's move to the second question from the source material. Can the network handle disruption?
A very relevant question here.
Extremely relevant. In fact, I want to push back on this one a little bit.
Okay, good.
Because every single company operating in South Africa faces disruption.
Right. Constant disruption.
We have notorious port delays, border post bottlenecks up at Lubombo, unpredictable road closures on the N3. How does a transport network actually handle a closed port or a compromised major highway? I mean, you can't just wish the truck through traffic.
No, you can't wish it through, but you can build agility into your carrier base and your routing protocols.
How does that work in practice?
Well, in an operational mindset, you award a lane to a single carrier because they offered the lowest rate per kilometer, right?
Sure, lowest bidder wins.
But when that carrier gets stuck at a border post or their fleet breaks down, your entire supply chain halts.
Because you have all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. You have no alternatives. A strategic approach involves diversified carrier portfolios and dynamic routing capabilities.
So you have backup plans.
It means understanding which nodes in your supply chain are most vulnerable and having pre-negotiated secondary transport options ready to deploy the moment a primary route goes down.
But doesn't that cost more?
It costs slightly more upfront to maintain that redundancy, yes. But it prevents the entire commercial operation from grinding to a halt when things inevitably go wrong.
I like that. It's like building the vascular system of a business. It's not just about the blood moving, it's about keeping the whole organism thriving under stress.
That is a perfect analogy.
Which ties directly into the third question they highlight. Can the network maintain service standards under pressure?
This is where we return to those SLA penalties and vendor downgrades we talked about earlier.
Right, the retail nightmares.
Exactly. Look, every transport network looks competent on a quiet Tuesday in mid-February.
Fair point.
The real test is month-end, or the peak season build-up to the holidays. When volume spikes across the entire industry, capacity tightens, and carriers start rejecting loads, does your freight still move?
I would assume that comes down to the relationships you have with those carriers, right?
It comes down to carrier alignment and contracted capacity, yes.
Okay.
If your transport department's only mandate for the last 11 months was to squeeze your carriers for the absolute lowest possible rate,
Then those carriers hate you.
well, they certainly aren't going to prioritize your freight when capacity gets tight.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They will service the clients who view them as strategic partners. The ability to maintain your promised service levels during a crunch is what separates a reliable brand from a chaotic one in the eyes of the consumer.
Okay, so that brings us to the fourth and arguably most technical question the piece asks. Can the transport function provide visibility when decisions need to be made quickly?
Visibility is huge.
But what does visibility actually mean mechanically here? Are we just talking about a GPS dot on a map showing where a truck is on the highway?
A dot on a map is just raw data.
Okay.
Visibility is when that data is integrated into the business to actually change an outcome.
Give me an example of that.
Sure. In a purely operational setup, management only finds out a delivery has failed when the customer calls in demanding answers.
At which point you are purely reactive.
Exactly, you're just apologizing. Strategic visibility involves API integrations where the telematics of the transport provider feed directly into your company's warehouse management system.
The WMS.
Right, the WMS.
So the systems are literally talking to each other without human intervention.
Correct. So let's say a truck hits a massive delay and the ETA slips by 4 hours. The WMS automatically flags that delay.
Instantly.
Instantly. Then the warehouse manager can proactively reallocate dock doors and shift labor schedules, which prevents overtime costs.
Oh, that's smart.
And simultaneously, the customer service team receives an alert. They can contact the client with an updated timeline before the client even realizes there is a problem.
So the delay still happened.
The delay still happened, yes. But the visibility prevented the delay from compounding into a catastrophic business failure.
Man, that level of integration makes the transport network look less like a fleet of trucks and more like an advanced data network that just happens to move physical boxes.
Which is exactly why the gap between successful companies and stagnant companies isn't about how hard their logistics teams are working.
So it's not about pedaling harder on a broken bicycle.
No.
It's about getting a better bike entirely.
It is entirely about their approach to the underlying structure.
Let's focus on that gap for a second, because the Greystride piece really emphasizes this concept of alignment.
Yes, alignment is the key word here.
It argues that success requires aligning transport with commercial objectives. But if we know these four forward-looking capabilities are the solution, growth, disruption agility, service under pressure, and visibility,
Right.
why aren't more companies implementing them? Like, what is structurally preventing a South African enterprise from making this shift today?
This raises an important question, and honestly, it is fundamentally an identity crisis.
An identity crisis.
Yeah, many executives resist investing strategic energy into their supply chains because they view it as outside their core competency.
Yeah.
You will hear them say things like, we are a manufacturing company, we aren't a logistics company, or we build retail brands, we don't manage trucks.
They want to keep their capital and their focus entirely on the product they make, which, sounds reasonable on paper.
Right. But what they fail to realize is that the end consumer does not care about internal corporate boundaries.
The consumer just wants their stuff.
Exactly. To the customer, the product and the delivery of the product are the exact same experience.
That is such a crucial point.
You can manufacture the highest quality product in the world, but if it arrives 3 days late, damaged, and with no communication...
The customer experiences a low-quality brand.
Yes.
The delivery mechanism is literally the final step in the brand promise.
Exactly. And you don't need to become a logistics company to care about logistics.
Right.
You just need to realize that the real opportunity lies in understanding how transport actively supports the exact outcomes the business is trying to achieve.
How do you do that practically?
You just need to ensure your transport strategy mechanically mirrors your commercial strategy.
Okay, give me a concrete example.
Sure. If your primary commercial objective is to be the fastest to market, you cannot incentivize your transport manager purely on cost savings.
Because cheap usually means slow.
Exactly. You have to build a network designed for velocity. Alternatively, if your commercial strategy relies on, say, white glove, premium reliability for high-value goods.
Like high-end electronics or something.
Right. Then your carrier selection and routing protocols must prioritize security and handling even if it requires paying a premium rate.
The entire system has to be pulling in the exact same direction.
When a business finally connects those dots, when they stop viewing transport as a disconnected chore and start engineering it to actively support their commercial goals, they unlock incredible internal efficiency.
Because everything aligns.
They free up working capital because goods move faster, they eliminate those nasty SLA penalties, and they create a level of reliability that their competitors simply cannot replicate.
Because their competitors are still stuck agonizing over a spreadsheet of rates.
Exactly.
Well, to wrap this up, I think the message here for anyone operating in the South African logistics space is pretty profound.
It's a total paradigm shift.
It really is.
Yeah.
We started by talking about the trap of seeing transport as a daily chore, right? Just checking off rates and schedules.
Yeah.
And then we uncovered that hidden domino effect, where a single late truck can literally tie up your actual working capital and drain your bank account.
And destroy your market share.
Right. And finally, we explored how shifting your approach, really focusing on visibility and strategic alignment, turns transport into this massive competitive advantage.
Treat it as an afterthought, and it will drain your resources. Engineer it strategically, and it becomes an insurmountable advantage.
So the next time you watch a truck pulling out of a distribution center, remember, you aren't just looking at a daily operational task. You are watching your business strategy, your customer retention, and your actual cash flow in physical motion.
Absolutely.
Which leaves us with a critical question to consider as you look at your own organization today.
What's the question?
Well, we've spent this entire deep dive exposing how transport is actually this hidden strategic engine masquerading as a mundane operational chore, right?
Yeah.
So if your transport network has been hiding massive strategic leverage in plain sight this whole time, What other boring operational departments in your business are secretly dictating your overall commercial success right now, just waiting for you to change your approach?